Ou deixa sua bunda ardendo, ou dá tapa, 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 cara.
Welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now, exploring your inner authority. I'm Michelle Jones.
And I'm Scott Collins.
And this is the place to connect with your highest, most essential self, your most empowered self, where you can explore your inner authority and learn from others and learn more about yourself.
We talk with fascinating people from all walks of life about transformation, healing, hypnosis, astrology, physical experience of being human, and heart-centered living.
We're so thankful that you're here with us. Let's dive right on in. Hi, and welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now, exploring your inner authority. We're at episode 46. The hypothesis of the day, aka the title, is the gut as your first brain. And welcome back, y'all, where we are here to explore the wisdom of the soul, connect our empowerment to every dimension of our beings. And I am joined today with my brother in arms, dun, 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 dun.
Scott A. Collins, what's up, y'all?
What up, Buttercup? It's been a minute since we've even visited. I've been all business for like the last 8 weeks. How'd the Pisces eclipse treat you, bro?
Surprisingly placid and still. I know we were talking about that this morning. I was expecting some drama, Pisces and karma and the whole deal. But it was full of stillness, lots of tears, lots of crying.
Oh, God. Yeah.
You love that.
Oh, my God. Giving up the water is a rough one. I shed a few tears.
Yeah.
It was about 24 hours. Was it 24 hours after? Oh, no. It was eclipse day.
It was, yeah.
I'm having a very hard time keeping up with time. I just feel it's breaking down so much so. Like, I legitimately have been somebody that's had like mastery of that. And I feel like with this eclipse, I'm telling you, I didn't know if this was like full, partial, what. I kept like vacillating. And I was like, we had partial in our part of the world, right? Like what we could visibly see, right, Scott? But it was
right, and it was like more in our daylight hours to the actual optimal on this hemisphere. So that's.
But it was a full lunar eclipse in Pisces.
Blood moon. Yeah.
Can you explain that to our listeners?
So I mean, I guess to start at the beginning.
As a Pisces too.
Yeah, is whatever sign we're in. For instance, right now, Virgo, the new moon in that season will be under the sign of Virgo. And then the full moon will be under its contrary sign, complement sign, as you and I like to call it. On the card, it looks like the opposition. But Pisces is the complementary mutable sign to Virgo. So the full moon happens in Pisces in Virgo season. And then that shifts for every season. And an eclipse, this is probably everybody out there listening knows this, though, is those rare moments when, either the moon on a solar eclipse comes between the earth and the sun, or on a lunar eclipse when the earth passes between the sun and the moon.
It's still pretty incredible, even though we don't know what it is. It's a pretty incredible thing happening still.
And also just the sizes of our respective planetary bodies, like especially the solar eclipse, being that the moon is the perfect size to create that ring of fire that we get on solar eclipses. That would not happen if the moon was much larger or smaller, or, in either direction. If it was a different size, we wouldn't have that phenomena that we get here on Earth. And, full moons in general are when the sun's light is being reflected back to Earth. So we're seeing that fullness of it. But an eclipse blocking that light of the sun, often metaphorically what we experience is a reflection of our shadow.
Shadow. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. So that's what tends to be on full display or full investigation, full whatever you want to call it, our hours, but then also, in others, the people around us, that comes out and we will see it, maybe see things we never saw before. There would be behavioral characteristics, things that maybe ourselves or others can't control from doing or saying. And a lot is revealed to us on eclipse full moons, usually.
Yeah, and we're kind of in them for a good 4 days after, and then it takes like 6 months for us to really kind of have that energy dissipate because it'll stick around for
You're
quite
right.
some time.
Well, and the 6-month portal, very accurate, because that's when the season goes back to Pisces. Yeah.
That's right.
And if you recall, 6 months ago, we had a full moon eclipse in Pisces season in Virgo.
In Virgo.
Yes. And that was pretty, like, my personal life, very meaningful and memorable one, because it was like a pinnacle shifting time for me, and definitely feeling the seeds that were sown at that time, like everything is coming to fruition now. And so that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
What your thoughts, what you're creating right now, what you're materializing now. 6 months from now, you're probably going to be experiencing a lot of that. So how we respond to it every few months is pretty interesting.
Well, and I think that also what folks need to kind of remember, because we don't talk about it very often, is that when we're in a season of consciousness like Virgo, that's where the sun is, right? And actually our earth is in Pisces. So that's where we're bringing things to earth, is within our spirituality, within the sea, of the feelings and the being, the feelings. Those are the things that we're actually bringing forward and manifesting on earth right now and materializing, which is really interesting, because today's episode is called "The Gut is Your First Brain." And Scott and I started, kind of rehearsing for this gig with a previous incarnation of our podcast that was called Trust Your Gut, Y'all. And one of the things that I am kind of playing with, and as a colon hygienist who's done this for 21 years and have done over 26,000 sessions with clients and a hypnotherapist. Okay, so it's really, really interesting. If you look at how we're designed, you really start to see the gut in the enteric nervous system, right? That was functioning way longer before our brain ever began developing, let alone thinking, right? Remember when we had Chris Niebauer, right? Dr. Niebauer on, and it was just very curious, and I've been playing with this since that time, actually, that possibly the gut could very well be the original center of intelligence, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, the only maybe somewhat arguable alternative would be the heart, but it's definitely not the mind.
But I'm not saying in order of importance, my friend. I'm not saying in order of importance. I'm talking about brain to brain. Okay? I'm talking about gut to brain to brain. Heart, obviously, order of operations first. We have a fabulous guest that we're going to actually talk about, who is the head of the Heart Math Institute, like for 11 years. So he's going to be with us next. So yeah, that is the guiding light, is your heart, right? That's what we've talked about, the prioritization of that if you really want to kind of get into your purpose, get into your higher self as much as you possibly can, you're going to have to start to examine and really feel and live in and from the heart. Okay. So then, you kind of tell, as you and I have joked around, the dumbass and the smart ass, and I say that as Gemini rising, Mr. Mapacho. For the 1.3 people that are watching on YouTube, Scott's smoking Mapacho, which is like a sacred tobacco, right? So the interesting thing for me is that if we look at the gut as a first brain, okay, those gut feelings that we have, like this is the salient question for today, like that I want folks to just keep in mind as they're listening to this is what would shift in your life if you actually trust your gut as a primary intelligence, as a deep rooted intelligence, not about your feelings, okay? Not about your heart, but in terms of the intelligence versus reliant upon the brain. And so I just kind of want to sit with that, like as we explore this, together, because I think that it changes how we see health. I think it changes how we see empowerment. I think it changes how we see intuition.
Yeah, how we make decisions.
Right?
Yeah.
So, it's just very intriguing to me because years ago I was struggling with like decision making, right? I had something happen and it was just my mind was full of like a lot of noise, like a lot of logic pulling me one way. We've all had these experiences, right? Like your logic is pulling you one way, your emotions are pulling you another way. As a Gemini rising, it happens very often. And in the middle of that kind of chaos of that pulling, I had this aha that the answer had been sitting in my gut all along.
Mm.
Like one of those, if you don't know, you do know kind of moments, right?
Yeah.
And my stomach would tighten like something was off. And then it would like begin to relax as if something were aligned. And I was very young. I was 17 at the time that I started to like realize this, right? So I'm going in the Wayback Machine. And that realization led me to just start to explore like how I had to take care of myself. I just had like this, and it really took like a good 4 years or so till I was like in college, almost graduated from college before I started to get in touch with that. But the realization just led me as a client to colon hydrotherapy, right? I started that in graduate school. There was this gut mind connection. I wasn't with it with the heart. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't there with it at that time. Um, but what happened was I started to look at patterns within myself. And I started to see that as my gut health started to shift, so did some of my clarity, my decision making, right? It was like, whoa, I could feel what the right choice was without having to kind of feel like I was a squirrel in the road, like which way do I go? Like back and forth, because I could play ping pong like that all day. And so like, it just started to come to me that your gut isn't just like a digestive organ, right? Like it's a wisdom center possibly. Maybe in fact, our original brain. Maybe, right?
My gut tells me yes. That is right. And yeah, like, for sure, the brain was just there to witness and observe everything happening and not be the capitan of the ship. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Observe it, even if it's observing, oh, I'm getting a hit in my gut.
yes.
I mean, the brain can be the accomplice, the Robin to the Batman of the mechanism.
Completely, because like we
Yeah.
all had that hit from our gut. Like when you meet somebody Okay. And you're just like, whoa, I vibe with this person. That is just a gut level like reaction typically, right? Or a room. Oh, this place feels cool or this place feels unsafe, right? Like just you, I mean, there are assessments that we make that seem like almost instantaneous that I think might be coming from this very deep seated, deep rooted primal brain, if you will, like an intelligence.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like we've made your intuition superstition. And I think that is so weird because other than your brain and like, your vertebrae, you have more nerve endings in your gut, in your colon than anywhere else in the body, right? So like, why can't we like weave biology with intuition,
Mm-hmm.
to like have an intersect of sorts there? Because if you start to look at the science of it, right, the gut has its own nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of sounds important,
Right. Yeah.
right? Like the
Yeah.
enteric like nervous system, like a lot of people will speculate, oh yeah, that's like your second brain. But it
Mm-hmm.
actually has
Vagus
over
nerve. Yeah.
yeah,
Connecting the heart and the brain to
right.
your gut.
And it has 500 million neurons.
Wow.
Like 500 million. That's more than your spinal cord, y'all.
Wow. Yeah.
And so 90 to 95% of our serotonin, like the feel good neurotransmitter that in America, we're all a little bit like, ooh, can I get a serotonin hit, please? Because, like our soil is so deplete, and our food, the nutrition, but it's produced in our gut. So that means like your mood, your resilience, even possibly your empowerment is rooted in gut health,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Or the terroir of the gut of that biome needs to be one in which the most profitable, I'll use that word, things can be going on inside.
It's very Virgo
Serotonin,
word,
things like yeah.
for sure. Because so you and I have talked about the vagus nerve, right? Directly connecting the gut and the brain together, and messages actually, I think, can go upward from the gut to the brain faster than from the brain to the gut. What say you, bro?
So is that your intuition speaking, or like has that have there been data on that? I'm not surprised that my gut would tell me that that's how it feels.
That's how it feels. So I
Yeah.
think for me, what that is that is an educated, hypothesis. Like it's a very educated one. Like I've spoken with so many thousands of clients, right? And when you start to really listen, you're recognizing that the messages that are coming through from just ourselves, okay, just within ourselves, the most profound ones I think go upwards. like, like about safety, about health, about people, like assessments, things that you would use intelligence for, things that you would not necessarily use the heart for, right?
Yeah. I believe it is the information source is the gut. That's where it's coming in, and then it's sending them, relaying them to the brain to process and analyze as need be or witness.
Totally. And I think that what's so fascinating right now is, I've been doing this for a minute. I've done this for 20 years. And I can really, really vibe with people that are coming in that are having these profound awakenings about gut health. There's like a large number of people dialoguing about this now in a way that 10 years ago, I would lead with being a hypnotherapist, being a pastoral counselor. I didn't lead with, hey, yeah, and I'm a colon hygienist, right? Because it was almost like not taboo, but it definitely wasn't around the dinner table conversation. You know what I mean? And I just find that from an empowerment perspective, I think that people are wanting very much so to detoxify and to kind of liberate the gut in many ways. Like, I think that's why people are listening to podcasts like this and, trying to clear themselves and figure out food.
Right. I mean, you don't want the pipes clogged. I mean, of the mechanism, then you are blocking or filtering the information that be coming in. I mean, with everything we're talking about, I believe it could come as no surprise to a listener to think then about famous religious figures that would fast to gain incredible, insightful information. So if you go lengthy periods detoxifying, cleaning your body, your colon, and what type of borderline psychedelic information you can get from source when you do with intention take a considerable amount of time without having anything in there blocking the energy.
Hmm. And if you think about it from just, the quote unquote primitive, the primordial standpoint, right? Of like the gut might actually be the original command center. Okay. And when I say command center, I'm referencing more of the intuitive, right? Command center that if your gut is congested and clogged up, what does that do to intuition?
Yeah. Or stripped of the healthy terroir and biome.
Yes.
With certain things, if you're unaware, like antibiotics and chemicals and certain foods can do, process things,
Yes.
strip the healthy biome of our gut, and then
anxiety.
So not just clogging it, but like stripping it,
Oh yeah, clogging it, stripping it.
Did you get it? Yeah.
Well, I was going to go into that is that, the gut like integrates nutrients and it also integrates obviously emotional experiences, right?
Yeah.
And like the expression is like, I can't stomach this isn't just like a phrase. It's actually like a biology, and I feel like a lot of times when people are stuck and stagnant within their life, right, in the time space continuum, there's kind of a clogging of the pipes, if you will, and I think that it's very fascinating that so many of us are beginning to look at the liberation of congestion, freeing ourselves, right? Like from that whole component of processed foods and, toxins, stress, it's just become more of a collective conscious conversation that I find very intriguing. I also think that the sad, right? Like the seasonal affective disorders that people experience, the depression, like if your first brain, the command center, the gut is where your serotonin, 90 to 95%, some people believe, is produced. What would our life look like and feel like and really be when we nurture that?
Yeah.
Really be an awareness of giving our gut the good stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause it takes a lot, man, the gut. I mean, it
I
takes.
think we then like further our trust in our gut when we do that.
Yes.
We trust
Yeah.
our connection to it. Like when we get the information in our brain, when it's sent up to the vagus nerve, then we're able to really receive it with pretty convicted feelings.
For sure.
A
And
reliable
it's
source.
a reliable source. That's what I was going to say,
Yeah.
like a stable source,
Yeah.
right? That helps to give us like this grounded presence about us. I think so many of us wrestle at times with anxiety and or depressive tendencies sometimes, right? And it's like, if you look at a lot of people were expressing to me that they felt anxious around the eclipse and around the full moon. You might want to do a little bit of research into gut health and the full moon and anxiety. Just kind of do some searches, do some learnings, and exploration for yourself to see, because a balanced microbe like in the gut can harmonize the entire body, because every single piece of the good bacteria, the not so good bacteria, every bit, every part is working symbiotically with all your organs to bring about homeostasis and balance, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves. And I think that we forget that like a harmonious relationship with the gut can balance us in the same way that relationships, like with people, can balance our soul.
Mm-hmm.
It really comes from this very primordial, grounded, I guess it would be beyond a neutrality, because there's a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a knowing. And
How do we cross over into that knowing? Like when we're making the shift of our gut being the reliable source and not our brain.
uh-huh.
So, like, how do we, when we probably, I say this, collectively, sometimes talk ourselves out of trusting our gut.
Oh, for sure.
When we feel that down there, that it's the way, with
Mm-hmm.
quotes around the way,
Mm-hmm.
but we talk ourselves out of it.
Yeah. And I think that a way that we can know is, I think that we'll have a clarity, that will have like a vitality and an authenticity about us that comes through as almost like a presence from within us, like a strengthening presence that then you can put out into the world. You're in the now. And I think that a lot of that is because your soul is housing your body, right? You and I were talking about that this morning.
Yeah.
And so many times when the soul is housing the body, when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, okay, if I'm in alignment within my first intelligence, if I'm in alignment within my heart, if I'm in alignment within my soul, that's, I think, the formula in terms of presence to begin to get us to our higher selves.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really what I think a lot of this empowerment perspective is yielding, is that like, okay, so empowerment can begin in the body, and trusting your gut is trusting your original design.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it might be where the higher self really communicates to us the most.
yeah. like, what would our society look like? Like, what different choices would we be making as a collective? I just, these were the things that just started to kind of come to me, because like what I wanted to do was I wanted to come to some place of like, what are 3 practices that like our listeners can come to, like from, today going forward. Like,
Yeah.
what
How do
can
we
you do,
cultivate this? Yeah.
right? To honor your gut, like as a first brain. And so I think there's like a gut check pause thing that goes on, you know? And as we've talked about, right? Like, okay, taking this pause and touching our heart and saying, okay, how does my heart feel about this? Well, guess what? Now we want to take that gut check pause and say, what does my gut feel? How does my gut feel about this? Notice, is there a tightening? Is there an expansion? Is there nausea? Do you take a deep breath? Right? Like, trust those signals. Like, they're really cool that they come to us.
Yeah. And if there's a signal, it's okay to also say, what's underneath that? Like, what am I feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Is it fear? Is it excitement? Is it, any of the myriad of things? But we can first identify a feeling, and then we can ask, what is that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because I think that what is that is the response,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is what's going to follow the what is that? Then you're going to give yourself like the response to that, right?
Response, yeah.
And I think that's something else that we can all do today is that we can cleanse and nourish. Like we can like limit our processed foods. And a positive way to put that would be have some green juice, right? Like add in live foods, as many dead foods as you're eating, challenge yourself and say, okay, I'm going to put something dead on the plate. I'm going to put something alive on the plate. Like that 1-to-1. Like, how do you feel when you're doing that? And hydrating deeply. That is such a mood and a game changer. Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
I mean, cleansing protocols aside, what about just like water protocols?
Yeah.
You slam water, bro.
Too. Totally.
And it's really super, super important to remember that a clean gut equals like a clear channel. That's a really important thing, And like the vagus nerve activation, I'm going to let you, Mr. Pranayama breathing, address that practice. And today you and I were also talking about humming and chanting. But if you could kind of give us a tidbit in that practice today so we can strengthen the gut and the brain communication and calming the whole system.
Yeah, a couple, and listeners out there, you can look up some YouTube videos, or not YouTube, look them up somewhere else. But
just listen to what Scott's telling you to do right now.
My favorite pranayama breathing techniques that I really do notice open that connection of the vagus nerve from the gut to the pineal gland, which resides in our brain, which very much connect to the intuition. But one is alternate nostril breathing, which is exactly like what it sounds like. You are closing one nostril with one finger and thumb, breathing in one nostril, exhaling out the other in a really slow, controlled way, and then reversing the cycle and doing that for a few times.
How many times do you recommend, brother?
So, well, for beginners, I would just try doing it 3 times and see how you feel.
I like it.
But every day, do it every morning, or maybe try it every morning and night before bed. So twice a day, three of them. That's like going to be not even 3 minutes of your time.
Mm-hmm.
And expect to be possibly a little bit lightheaded the first time, even only doing it 3. I like expanding it on multiples of 3, like 6 when you
Yeah, I knew you were going to
6 and then to 9. I don't know if it's the Tesla thing, but I do like doing that. And then, if you guys get comfortable with that, try doing it 6. But the most important thing is a daily practice, more so than just every now and then. And then I think you'll find you can access it in just that little 3-dose quantity going about your day. If you have a big decision to make, or someone pulls out in front of you at the stoplight, or anything can happen, something at work, you can ground your entire nervous system, as we just talked about the gut as a nervous system, with just a couple of those, 3 of those. Another one that's really specific for the gut is the curl tongue pranayama, which is also, so there are Sanskrit names for these. For these, I'm giving you the layman term phrases for them. And it's also exactly how it sounds, where you curl your tongue, inhale through it deep, and then exhale through your nose. And same thing, just try it 3
times.
Anybody, if any of you out there do have what you feel like are gut issues, you're trying to get your inner terrain, inner twar back healthy by hydrocolon therapy, probiotics, antibiotics, raw foods, juicing. The curl tongue one is one that's really strong for cooling the digestive fire. That's the purpose of that. The curl tongue is to cool your intestines when you breathe in. So there's a ton of pranayama breaths out there, but for today's topic, check those out.
I love that so much because, the immediacy of the level of calm that you can feel.
Yeah.
I did it after we hung up this morning. Like, I committed, because you and I were talking about some things for myself, and you were like, yeah, what about the alternate, breathing? And I told you, I said, I'm literally going to take a couple of hours today, and I'm going to focus on my breathing. And I'm going to tell you, my brain is working better because of it. Yeah. My body is working better because of it. My central nervous system is working better because of it. And that was literally just from this morning. There's a shift. So I love that, Scott, that alternate. That's just brilliant. I think that if we can honor the gut possibly as a first brain and trust the wisdom and nourish the health and live from the deepest intelligence that can afford us, I think that there are some really cool opportunities for us to continue this conversation and to grow with looking at intelligence centers in the body, right? The heart being the first, the primary, intelligence center. But in terms of brain and gut, I'm going to go with, I think that we might be onto something here. That the first brain is actually our source and seat of intuition, wisdom, well-being, and all the good things that come for us, in terms of our health, our good bacteria, our not so good bacteria. 500 million neurons, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful, pretty incredible. So I just wanted during this Virgo season to give folks something that was a little bit of a shift in health, but at the same time, things that people are exploring with the gut and why you might even want to look at it as a first brain, as an intelligence, as something that you should nourish, you should cleanse, as something that you should hydrate. And obviously Nashville Colon Care, that's what I do with people most days, when I'm not doing hypnotherapy with people most days. But legitimately, what amazes me is the first time that somebody does something that they've never done before, like colon hydrotherapy, and the body knows exactly what to do, and the gut feels a shift immediately.
Yeah. And, anytime if you have something important in your life coming up, presentation, a work related thing, an athletic related thing, whatever, like carry all this information with high regard, meaning that 24-hour period at minimum leading up to it, be really conscious of what you are or are not putting into your gut if you want to be at your highest version of yourself when it's time for those things to occur.
One of my indigenous teachers, and I think that you've heard this also, it was Eduardo with the Sweat Lodge that, he talked about that if you treat life like it's actually a ceremony, you're actually bringing like the highest vibration that you possibly can of sacredness to everything that you engage. And at a gut level, you just start to flow. And it was like this, like treating life like a ceremony, like with this sacredness. And it's not something that it can't come from the mind. Okay. The heart can do it, like for sure. I also think that if the heart and the gut can interface, which is when we have Bruce on, what we're going to talk about, I would think that that is like the unstoppables right there, like the dynamic duo, like the heart and the gut operating, in the right order. The heart being like, okay, I am the lead, right? And the gut being like,
infinity.
Yes, infinity.
Yeah.
I was seeing it on top of each other, right? Like together. So I just really think that if we can just look at like your gut, not as just like your backup system, but is like your original guidance system, is your command central, what would that look like? Who would we be, right? I'm just wondering. So again, what shifts in your life if you trust your gut as your first and your deepest intelligence, friends? All right, my brother, you got some affirmations for us today so we can kind of dig this in a little bit deeper?
Yeah.
Thank you.
One here you wrote. I honor my gut as my first brain. I trust its wisdom, nourish its health, and live from my deepest intelligence. I like that. Well done, Michelle.
Kudos to you, bro. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Stay empowered, keep exploring. And until next time, we thank you guys so much for listening and we appreciate y'all so much. Remember,
Trust you.
Can we get y'all? Can we say it together?
Trust your gut.
Trust your gut, y'all.
Peace.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Empowerment Unleashed Now. Please subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and let us know how this helped you.
Join us right here every week for another episode.